All right, guys. Well, welcome to this week's masterclass where we have the one and only Matt Farnham in the house from Vegas, and super excited to be able to have him share with us his skill set. So let's get going. Matt, what do you got for us?
Haven't done one of these master classes or led one at least in I think a couple few months now. So it's great to get a chance to do this again with everybody. Something that we have done pretty well over the years. You know, we've had highs and lows as farming. It's not something I don't talk about very often, but it is something that we've put a lot of work into in the last decade, and hopefully can give everybody a few tips and tricks to think about your farming. I already see a few people on the call right now that I know do some farming. So I just I just kind of kick it off. Who does have an active farm? I know Nazar, that's a huge part of how you built your big business, right, bro?
Yep.
Yep. And then Rob, I know you farm, right? Well, you door knock. I don't know if you do postcards, but you definitely do door knocking and more digital farming.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of postcards, but we weren't really seeing results from it. So we were kind of pivoting from the traditional style of farming and doing more events, door knocking, and digital farming now is something that we're dabbling in. So kinda.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. I just saw a good friend hop on the call, John Sanders. John is a uh, rock star title in the title business here in Vegas. So he's might even have some color to add to the conversation just from what he sees great agents doing well. So John, thanks for hopping on, dude. So let's get into it. And then this will be kind of a little bit informal. Like I'm not just gonna just talk straight for 30 minutes. I want feedback and I'll even ask you guys a few questions as we go. But just to kind of set the stage, we've had a farm here in Southern Nevada. I'm in the Henderson market specifically, is where my office is. And it's actually a neighborhood I live in. And it's called Inspirata, is kind of the master plan community. But it's really a couple other adjacent communities, Anthem Highlands, Madera Canyon, that make up about 70% of a certain zip code is these three neighborhoods. So over the last 14 years, we have sold about 10 times more homes in this area than other top producing agents. In fact, you have to like add up the top like 6 agents behind me, I think, before you get to what we've done or something like that. So we've definitely seen a decade of dominance, and I'll share some tips and tricks on how we got there. So first, let's kind of talk about picking the farm. And I'm curious to get some input from you guys. So Nazar, please speak up because I know you do this really well. But from my opinion, picking a farm, a lot of people gravitate to what gets you excited because you like the neighborhood, you live in the neighborhood or whatever. But the primary question is, are there homes actually selling in the neighborhood? So you need to look at the turnover, and you'll get different opinions on this. But I'm of the opinion that minimum is a 5% turnover, minimum. So in other words, if there are 100 homes in that little subdivision, if there's not an average of 5 home sales a year in there, there's not enough activity in there to justify your investment and your effort in the community. And I would encourage you to try and find neighborhoods that have even better turnover than that. So, Nazar, what would you say to the turnover aspect?
I look at it differently. Instead of the turnover, I look at more because you're going to have areas like in California where the turnover rate's like 2%. So it's not necessarily the turnover rate as much as it is what is your goal of how many homes you want to sell from that lead pillar, and then work backwards to say, okay, if I want to sell 10 homes from my farm this year, and if I want to get at a minimum of a 5% conversion rate. Now I know that some people are like, oh, I have a 30% conversion rate over my farm. Well, yeah, if your farm is like 200, then getting a 30% conversion rate, which means 2 sales, like good for you, right? But like if you're going to scale it to some level, then you can expect a 5% conversion rate. That means that you're gonna have to find a farm that has enough sales that a 5% conversion rate would equal to what you want to sell. So that would tell you
Right.
how big the farm needs to be. So anyway,
And
that's me.
it might be a GCI target, like because if you have a low turnover rate and you can land 3 sales in the next year, that might blow your goal out of the water. But
Yeah.
I think in a much more typical like track home type communities, like we're in Vegas at our price points, that turnover rate's a pretty good target to shoot at, like how many people are actually moving. So that's something to look at. And then something else that you need to look at too is going deep versus wide. I think there's a balance to that. I think a lot of agents get excited about having a farm of, let's say, I want 10,000 homes, like this massive farm. But with your budget between digital farming and physical mailers and all that, can you afford to hit 10,000 homes frequently enough versus what if you had a farm of 2,000 homes that you could inundate with constant mailers, constant digital ads, and all those things. And maybe the right answer is somewhere in between there, where you could get the right cadence of communication with the bigger sampling of homes. I think that's the sweet spot. But I would submit to you, it's probably better to go deeper than wider because you really want to be famous in that kind of hyper local. Really, to the goal is to be the mayor of blank. I'm the mayor of Mission Hills. I'm the mayor of Inspirado. I'm the mayor of whatever that is. And a little bit of a hack that I think makes a big difference, and it's subtle, but over time, I really think it does, is being able to use language like our community, and like my neighbor and things like that, where if you go too wide, you're now in the branding of these pieces. For example, let me tell you what I did for years, is I kept trying to act like Inspirada, Anthem, and Madera were the same neighborhood because Inspirada wasn't very big yet. Now it's 5,000 homes by itself. But when it was a 500 homes, it I wanted to mail to it, but it wasn't big enough. So I was like trying to act like this is all one community when really the mailer and the campaigns are way more powerful when I'm like literally using the word Inspirada or using the words Anthem Highlands and not trying to act like this is one neighborhood. Does that make sense? But I think agents do that because they don't want to have to create 3 different mailers, 3 different campaigns. That's a lot of work. So be very mindful of that if you're going to initiate a farm on what's like easy to be consistent, repeatable, and scalable as it grows with the branding and messaging, and that kind of you are involved as part of their neighborhood type language is very powerful. And then the let's see here. Yeah, I'll move on from there. The other thing I would encourage you, and Nazar, please speak up to this too, is how long you're committed to launch a farm. So I think most of those people on the call didn't raise their hand, so you don't have a consistent farm. But I would submit to you that if you don't have a 9-month commitment, at least, I mean, probably just call it a year, then you're probably going to throw your money away. Like it really does take time to solidify that brand. And like, hey, this guy or this woman's not going away. They really are active in my neighborhood and they're the expert. And you also have to remember that if you're specifically, people think farming and they immediately think the postcard going in the mailbox. And I think to me, what I've learned is that's kind of like the nucleus or the centerpiece. It's kind of the hammer on the tool belt. Like it is a major component where you're physically in their home, but you do have to understand that most of the time you're just trying to make an impression from the 4 seconds it hits their hand to the trash can. So it really is a branding play, and that doesn't happen when 1 or 2 or 3 mailing pieces. You might catch a low-hanging fruit and get lucky, but frankly, that's what it is. It's probably luck if you start landing stuff that quickly. So you need to have the budget and the commitment to let it run its course before you really make any opinions about your success and headway on that. So have a 9-month commitment, and I do think you should blitz it at first. So when you're building that budget, I would rather, instead of like saying, hey, I'm going to send a piece every 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever that is for the next 9 months, I really believe for the first 3 months, you should build in like a blitz. So I would do every other week for the first 3 months. Some would say even do it every week, but that obviously it's all kind of budget and those things too. But I would do every other week for the first 3 months to really just blitz that brand up front. And then you can start to scale back a little bit that fits your budget a little better. And it also depends, are you doing digital ads and YouTube ads and Meta and all these things on top of the mailers? But if the mailer's the only piece, well, then you need to send more mailers. The problem is mailing is extremely expensive. Postage just went up again. Kristen just let me know. So even with EDDM, we're spending 2 cents more per mailer, I think, the next one we send out. So somebody else kind of give an opinion on cadence. If you're launching a new farm, Nazar, what do you think? John, what have you seen be successful? What's worked for other people?
So what's your question?
The cadence, if you're going to start a
Uh-oh.
new farm, like how often should you, number one, probably blitz it to build the brand. And then as you kind of back off to more consistent cadence, what would that look like?
You talking about mailers specific?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, like I know this is probably not good to say, but I'm just being honest. We've stopped mailers. And the reason we stopped mailers is because we were seeing how, I mean, again, our mailers in California was like 20,000 homes. Mailers in Utah was like 5,000 homes. So we're doing like massive quantities. And even though we had recognition, we weren't seeing the connection between people that are saying, hey, I'm ready to buy compared to like the cost of it. And so from our perspective, we're like, we can spend a fraction of the cost and get very, very heavy on where they're at compared to in their mailbox. Because, like you got to do, I mean, we were doing for over 10 years or 15 years in this one city. And yes, everyone knows our name, but that doesn't mean that they're going to use us. And that was evident based on like where they were using other people to sell homes. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important to be able to make like, where are their eyeballs? Are there eyeballs? Like when people check mail, this is not a good experience for them. No one loves going to the mailbox anymore. They used to, because when they go to the mailbox, it was like, yay, like who sent me a letter? Nobody sends letters, right? I mean, again, I'm saying nobody as I'm being the absolute, which is not, but most of the time it's mail that is bills, and it's not a fun experience. And it's either, one spouse or the other that checks the other spouse that has no idea anything about it. But then if you think about social media, you can get very, very targeted on social media. And then now both spouse and children, everybody and their mom that lives in the area gets to see you. And then that is way more cost effective. Now, again, I say this, I'm not trying to, dog on mailers. I think that if you are in a geographic or demographic area where there's a lot of old people that still value mail, and that was like a big thing for them, I think that's where it's valuable. But as far as like younger people, I don't know, Matt. Like I want to like say, yeah, go for it, but like I'm just scratching
Well,
my
so
head.
here's the deal with that. I agree. I think there's a compromise there. And if all you're doing is sending postcards,
Mhm.
I agree. If you're active in the community and it's that now you're in their home every handful of weeks or few months. Now we've scaled back big time how often we send mailers because I would rather have a nice balanced approach of YouTube ads, YouTube TV ads, meta ads coming to them. Maybe we're on the grocery carts, we're at the community event. Like I'll keep going and talk about all these other things where that's just the consistent piece where I actually get into their home. At least my brand is in their home, every couple months or whatever that is. But if all you're doing is mailers and there's no community activity, yeah, I think you're probably spending a whole lot of money and you might break even, but you're not going to get a 3, 4, 5x return on that if you're not doing other things as well. Rob, what you got?
100% agreed.
So obviously, like anything, it's always a case by case. Our experience, when you talked about the blitz, so our goal was to create recognition right away. So we were doing 3 to 4 pieces a month for the first 3 months, and then from there we went to 2 pieces a month, and then after a year we went to 1 piece a month. We were also door knocking, and we were also doing community events. There was a great turnover. The community turnover was 7%. There was no dominant agent. No agent had more than 15% market share. But what we learned was when we made relationships with neighbors, we said, how many pieces of mail do you get from different agents and how many agents knock on your doors? And some of the people told us 12 to 15 different agents were mailing to that community. It was in Newport Beach, average price points 4 million. Lots of agents want to be in there. And so we felt as though our mail was going unheard. We spent 3 years trying to break in and never really got one real come list me call, which is why we're pivoting now to the digital farming. But I agree. I feel like mail is becoming a bit more obsolete. I feel like it's becoming a lot more expensive. And I do think it works in other areas, but it must be a multifaceted approach. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of money and not get great results.
So on that note, we also have transitioned to sending bigger pieces so they really stand out when we do send them. I'd rather probably send a little bit less frequently now that I have the brand built, but really stand out in the stack of mail that they're getting. And then to that note too, I think if people are, the whole herd mentality, guys, if everybody else is stopping mailing, there might be an opportunity to do it, at least do a little bit of that to be where everybody else is not. But I'm not discounting the fact because I agree with the cost. We're starting to decrease the frequency of physical mail because we're going to take that budget and reallocate it to other digital means. And like we're getting ready to have a mailer hit this week, which I'll show you that one just as an example. But that might be the last piece I send for the year because of the election. Like mailing this time of year is probably a complete waste of money. So we're going to reallocate a lot more effort into some digital efforts for this back half of this year because of that. So let's keep moving, guys. So that would just say whatever that looks like for you and your budget, but you do need to blitz the brand, however you're launching yourself into the marketplace. And the other thing I would say to that too is a lot of people, they start building the budget and they're like, hey, well, my title company or my lender partner is going to take care of. I will say that I believe there's a lot of people out there doing things probably illegal with the way that they're getting contribution from different representatives. So just be careful with that. I mean, especially if you're part of our Five Realty company and you're on this call. I'm sure Nazar would definitely appreciate this comment, but just make sure you're doing it right, and not just because your buddy gets this massive contribution from his vendor. There's definitely right ways to do it. So I'll just leave that at that. So I think the perspective is the mailing piece is just like a hammer on the tool belt. But if you don't have a whole tool belt, then the campaign is going to be worthless. We have done physical mailing campaigns to communities, just thinking we had a really clever message to them, that have fallen on deaf ears because it's the only thing I did. So I would recommend, not just doing that. All right. So Valerie just hop on from San Diego. What's up, lady? Awesome. Got some good friends on here. So just to give you an idea on mailers before I move on from there, I was going to just show you a couple of them just to kind of get your minds going. I'm going to go to a Canva file here. I'm going to share my screen and just give you guys a couple examples. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Nazar, give me a thumbs up. You're on my screen still. Okay, cool. So like this is the one, guys, that's going to hit right now. And I'll show you that one last. Let me show you this one. Like this one's fun. As far as like sending something that's going to stand out unique. Shout out to my buddy Sergio Gonzalez in Westlake Village. I actually stole this idea from him, and then we just kind of made it ours. So this one here is a case study mailer. So what we did, the reason it's all backwards and funky is because it folded out as you opened it. So we had like a little sticker that closed it, and it literally unfolds. I wonder if I have one. I probably have one around this office. I should have had ready. So, but you see this page first, it's upside down, but it says decoding the sale of the long residence. And they see this and they open it up. And this is the back of it here. And then it says about this home sale. And then we talk about our goal. And then we have the staging and photography, our coming soon strategy. We launched the marketing plan. Here's the online views. So they're literally like unfolding this as they look at it. And then we had 7 showings, 3 offers, sold for full price in 9 days. And then we have nothing affirms credibility better than proof. And then we had a picture of the family with their testimonial. And then again, the back of it would have been obviously the address and all that type of stuff. So that's one example of something we did that landed really well. We also had complimentary digital ads that we run at the same time as this. So hopefully they're seeing this like a week on social media before the mailer hits their inbox. And then for another week after it hits their mailbox, ideally they're still seeing the same ad with the same look. So they're seeing it in multiple places. So let me close that page. And then another one I was going to show you is like the whole sell and stay strategy. Remember Tom Ferry talked a lot about that. So like, here's an example of what we did with something like that. Trying to imply like, hey, stay in the comfort of your home, search and buy your next home, and then we'll sell your home for top dollar. And then we had a whole plan that we presented them on how they could, sell and then stay in their home while they were house shopping and all things like that. So that was one that landed pretty well. We had a couple versions about that. This was one that we did that I thought was fun. What I would encourage you, make it about the families instead of the homes. So this is sideways, but if you can see, this is the number 1. So we said, who is really number 1 in the neighborhood? And we're not shy about the fact that we're number 1, but we made all these families we represented of the farm. We made pictures of them to make the number 1 instead of homes. So we're constantly doing stuff like that, making the neighborhood famous and making their stories famous rather than ourselves. And then this is one that we're doing right now. Tom and other people have been doing did you hear about your neighbor? So this is getting ready to go out. So did you hear about your neighbor? And I would encourage all you guys to scan that QR code right now. You guys can see the landing page is going to go to. I'll give you guys a second to do that. And again, this is going to have a digital ad that complements it. I'm going to close that. And like this is going to go out digitally. Did you hear about your neighbor? And then there'll be obviously like a call to action where they can hit a link and go to it too. So this will run at the same time as the mailer. And let me make my screen bigger here. You guys tell me, give me some thumbs up if you got the website up okay.
I don't see it.
Did you hit the QR code?
Oh, sorry. You're
It
talking
looks
about-
really good, Matt.
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, cool. So this is just R&Ding other people's ideas, of course, but this is what we're sending to that's literally going to hit the inboxes of our clients or our neighborhood, I think in three days from now or something like that. So that's the one we're running right now. So lots of different things you can do. There's a billion examples that I could show you, but anyways, anybody ever wants to mastermind on this, hit us up and we can share ideas of what's worked and so forth. But you can just see tons of mailers we've done over the years. But yeah, good stuff here. So let's move on from that. So ideally, we're going to have a mailer, a complimentary social ad running with it, hopefully some online ads running too to that whole area. And then everything needs to look the same. Make sure the brand is consistent when you're doing these. Everything looks like your stuff, like your stuff all the time. Again, I mentioned the language in the community as far as like our community, our neighbors, things like that. So people know I live there. I've had a lot of listings in the farm over the years because they want the neighborhood expert. They want somebody who they feel like knows their neighborhood, lives in their neighborhood. And I always tell them, like in a lot of the marketing pieces, I'll say it's easy to sell what you know and love, or what you know and live, or what you love and live, right? That type of language will do that so people know clearly that I live in the neighborhood. The next thing I'm going to transition to is community social groups. So unmute or raise your hand if you have engaged heavily into like the community Facebook group, the next door pages, things like that. So who's done that and seen actual like results from doing that?
I should,
Nobody's
I
gonna-
want to, but I always think I don't want to come across salesy, and I know you're not supposed to go sell. You're supposed to engage as a human, not as a realtor, but I just never know what to say.
So here's what I would encourage you guys, and I understand that, Val. I think a lot of us have that obstacle. Is come from a place of value. Like my Inspirata community page, they actually only allow one business promotional post a month, and I don't even do that because I do feel like it's kind of obnoxious to be one of those people. But what we do have is a goal to constantly have the coffee mug. The top contributor coffee mug that you want, like, and if any of you guys coach with a real estate coach, like I coach with Tom Ferry, like we have an internal goal where I always want the coffee mug on those internal coaching pages because I want to be consistently contributing value into the ecosystem. And you have that top contributor mug, it means that obviously you're engaging a lot. And the more I engage, the more top of mind I am and the better chance I have of agent referrals, right? We do the same thing in our community group. So it's our goal to have the top contributor mug in the neighborhood. So when anybody's asking for a handyman or a plumber or an electrician, or, hey, do you guys know what's going into that commercial center at that intersection? Well, it takes a few minutes to go on City Henderson's website and figure out what's going to go into that center, but be the source of all that information. And people, as long as they know it, you'll always hear me say this if I'm coaching anybody. But guys, real estate is this simple. People need to know what we do for a living and we're good at it. They need to know what you do for a living and you're good at it. And once they know that and you're just being consistent voice of value, you don't have to remind them that you sell real estate. They know what I do for a living. It's very clear with a brand in the neighborhood, but we're constantly providing value. So lots of different ways that you can do this. So nobody in here, I just thought I'd get more engagement on that. So
Matt, can I say something?
Yep.
There's this guy that is in town here that has probably done the best job when it comes to letting people know what's happening within the city or county or whatever it is. And I mean, I can show you his video if you guys want to just get a little glimpse of it. It's not super fancy. He does do drone shots, but as far as like just like it just takes a little bit of time to like learn the stuff. Is it okay if I share it? I don't want to monopolize what you're doing.
oh, go for it, dude.
So this guy has over 7,000 subscribers, which you might think is not a lot, but it is because like in the area, like he is well known. He owns a title company or he works for a title company, but like every agent should be doing this. And just hear this guy out real quick.
Update on what's happening here in
Can you
Southern
hear?
Utah. And today I'm back here in Springdale, where we've got so much going on. This is one of the coolest small towns in not only the state, but the entire country, right at the mouth of Zion National Park, which is really the biggest attraction that brings all the people here to Southern Utah. So much going on between new renovated hotels, new restaurants, places to eat, drink, and shop. A lot of good stuff going on. Look forward to showing you. So let's get started.
Dude,
So
I
we'll
want to
start
visit
at the
that.
entrance of Springdale at Trees Ranch, where we've got a new restaurant here that just opened up. It's called Wild Time Cafe. It's actually their second location. They're from Kanab, super popular there, and they just recently opened here. It's American food with a Southwestern touch on it, all different kinds of burgers and steaks, and different American foods. They are open for lunch and dinner, so make sure to come check these guys out. Now we'll head up the road a little ways and make a stop at the new Hotel de Novo that just recently opened. This used to be the Majestic View Lodge and is recently
All right, that's enough. You guys get the gist of it. Like he basically picks a section of a city and he talks about everything that's going on, any new construction, new builds. Like he'll go and find out what the, like you're saying, what new businesses are, when they open, when they close. So he doesn't even like bother interviewing them, but like, in Nevada, not Nevada. Yeah, I guess in Nevada and St. George, there's a huge water issue, right? Like we're always concerned about water. And he'll go and like interview the guy that's in charge of the water conservancy and talks about all the things that are happening and how they're saving water and these little things. Like he studies all the things that are going on, and then he just makes this video and he puts it out there every single week. And he's got a ton of subscribers and people that are just, in his mail campaign. And he does everyone knows him.
Nazar, can you put his YouTube channel in the chat, please?
Sure.
So that could be very, very applicable what we're talking about. So if you're going to do that in the context of farming, like you're going to really attack like a geo farm, you got to get really hyper local. So like you're sticking to the businesses in that neighborhood, you're sticking to the events coming up in that neighborhood. And I think being the digital mayor of your hyper local farm is absolutely an amazing idea. But what you're talking about, Nazar, is a lot. I mean, this is like the whole movement of what Rob's working on right now. Like this is what Bern McGovern does really well. And Jeremy Knight, some of these guys were like, they're all these community videos, you're hitting people way up the funnel, but you're that consistent voice of value, educating them down the 9-month journey before they actually move to Newport. And then you're the one that's been educating them for 9 months. You don't even realize that until they call and say, hey, I've been following you for a year. I'm going to buy a house, right? That's
What's crazy about this particular guy is that you talking about the community chats, like everyone has a community chat, every city does, where everyone like just is obnoxious and people ask questions and people talk crap. And when someone says, hey, what's going on in this pocket? Everyone references this dude. Like, oh, watch his YouTube video. He explains it. And I'm like, you can't get better than that. Can you imagine if someone's like, oh, what's going on here? And like, oh, well, this realtor has covered that. Go watch her YouTube video. Like,
Yep.
It's just genius.
Yep. Craig, what you got?
When you talk about the hyper local, I am not as good as it now because I'm in between videographers and our HOA board changed. But we had a terrible HOA board for years. And so I made videos that just made fun of them and what they were doing. And they were highly successful. Most people, when I run into them, tell me, I love your videos. We make videos like that just for our farm. And we also do, highlight people and businesses just in the farm. And they're only distributed. Sometimes some of them we'll put on YouTube, not the HOA ones usually, because we try to keep the dirty laundry in house. But those, are the types of things that we have done just digitally within the farm.
Yep. Awesome. So back to the community groups, guys, like I would just encourage you to come from a place of value. Like, how can you bring value to the neighbors consistently? And a lot of it's just answering questions. But just to give you a couple examples of stuff that you can do on the offense. One thing that we did a few months ago is we said, you know what, we need a way better vendor list for our community. So we actually took the lead on it and we said, we're going to build a vendor list as a resource for the neighborhood. But is there anybody that wants to make recommendations? Like, who have you really enjoyed from plumbing, electrical, roof, like pool install, like you name it. So now we have like literally the neighborhood all engaging like crazy, nominating people that they've liked. So, but it's all coming to the vendor list that we're now providing. And then we sent that back out as just a service to the community. And everybody was super grateful for it. We're getting emails like, hey, could you please add me to the list? And so now we're engaging with all these different business owners in the neighborhood. So again, it's just coming from a place of value to do that. And there's a lot of different ways that you guys can do that. Another thing that an agent does in the farm, I've seen this in multiple different ways, but Like the bulk trash schedule it's so simple and kind of obvious, but some people just don't realize the bulk trash is every other week, for example. So agents have offered to put like that on a magnet that they can stick on their trash cans. Like something so simple, like, hey, raise your hand if you would like a magnet dropped off to your house for the bulk schedule. And you're going to get 40 people raise their hand, and then you go hand deliver it to them, a couple weeks later, or drop it off on a pop by or something like that. So I have other friends that you guys would know that have done all types of things like this. So just to kind of throw out some more ideas, ice cream truck. I have a good friend that does that in her farm at a high level, where she has the ice cream trucks coming once a month, and she's just known for that. Like ice cream's on her, like come out and have fun at the park, and she'll put that out in the community groups, of course. Christmas tree pickup, like after Christmas, a friend does that where she'll bring an actual like huge U-Haul or whatever, drive it through the neighborhood, and she's already put it out in the mailers and on the community groups that she's doing the Christmas tree pickup for the real trees that need to be thrown away. 4th of July flags, or different things like that. Tons of stuff you could do that you can leverage those community groups for to make announcements. Something else that we've done too is we've leveraged the community groups for like fundraisers or for charity. So we did something a couple years that was called Inspirata Holiday Helpers. So we actually leveraged the holiday season, and we went to different drop-off points in the community, like the HOA office, for example, coffee shop, different things like that. And we wrapped big boxes with Christmas paper, and we had drop-off points. So then on our physical mailer postcard, plus digital and community posts in the Facebook groups and all that, we were trying to get people to bring a certain list of donations to these drop-off points that we were then donating on the community's behalf to serve charity. So a lot of times when you're tooting your own horn, it's hard to get people like to engage. But when it's for somebody else and a better cause, then they're happy to engage, but they still know who's hosting it. They know who's doing it. Another way that we leverage that, our specific farm does not allow door knocking, but this is what we've started doing for open houses. Rob, I'm gonna wait till Rob pays attention because he door knocks, so he's gonna love this. Rob, pay attention, you're gonna love this. So this is something that we've done for door knocking. We can't door knock our farm, but we do this for open houses, but you could do this for your farm. Is now we're door knocking and invite people to a farm. The big blue IKEA bags that are huge? So we got a whole bunch of those. And if we're door knocking a neighborhood to invite them to the open house, we'll put a flyer into the bag and basically, of course, invite them to the open house this Saturday, sellers only preview from 9 to 10:30 or whatever. But hey, it's also a perfect time for you to kind of go through your closets and what do you need to get rid of. We support an organization called the Hub Las Vegas here. It's our community outreach program. And we basically give them a donation bag for spring cleaning or whatever you want to call it. And then they'll drop off their donations at the open house. So they might have not wanted to come engage with this open house, but they do want to donate or get rid of stuff that we just made it very easy for them to walk 3 homes down, drop off all their crud they don't want, and then we'll get it donated for them. So now everybody wins. We get to engage with the clients. They get to feel good. Our engagement partner gets resources that they need to serve the community. So you could do that in your farm, but our neighborhood just doesn't allow door knocking. So it would actually probably upset people, but super effective if your neighborhood does.
So Matt, if we can't get the big blue IKEA bags or enough of them, then what, do you have any other ideas of donation bags? Like having the brown paper bags made up or?
Yeah, I'd just say something as close to it as you can. I mean, you could do totes, like big tote bags or something, but
Okay.
the IKEA bags, I think Kristen got them for, I want to say she got them in bulk for like $1 each or something. So
Oh, you can buy them. Okay.
yeah. Maybe it was $3 or something, but they're big, they're strong, they're sturdy. And when they donate them, we can fold them up and reuse them and put them back in the cellophane and drop them off for homes again.
Love it.
Yep. So just again, guys, nobody's ever short on ideas, right? There's plenty of them. It's just pick a few of them and actually execute consistently, right? That's the game.
I drive through the neighborhood and I'm just driving naturally somewhere. And on trash day, I always notice the trash lids that are just trashed, like they're broken or whatever. And I can get trash lids for free. I just have to take a picture of the number, provide the number on the trash can. And then I go to the location, pick them up, and then I've delivered them before. And I've even gone as far as just attaching the new lid and not even telling them, like introducing myself. Usually I go up to the front door and knock and just say, hey, would you be okay? Would you like a new trash lid for free? And then I have my little tool and I just change it out. So I haven't done that a lot, but people really appreciate it.
Yeah. That does not surprise me you do that, Valerie. Valerie is a giver. If you guys don't know Valerie, follow her. She's awesome. All right, moving on. School engagement. Who's engaged the schools, like through school sponsorships, school events, like being at the fall festivals, the spring festivals. So that's something that I think is really huge, like being present in the actual school, not just having the banner up and the car loop banner and all that stuff. Like we pay for those things, but being at the events, having a fun game or engaging game or a giveaway. Like when the Golden Knights had come out here in Vegas, we were giving away Golden Knight tickets and jerseys. Like that was a big thing. Like that was expensive. Everybody wanted to do it. So of course they're coming to our booth to play our game, to register for our newsletter so that they could be in the drawing for different things like that. So I'm curious just to get a little bit of input. So who has engaged their schools and been able to leverage that for meeting new people in the farm? Craig, go ahead. What have you done in the schools?
We do a variety of things. I have a cotton candy machine. And so we go and do all the elementary school carnivals and things like that. We give all the money, back to them for it. Probably the biggest thing I do is I sponsor a field goal kicking contest at the high school during, halftime. And that has, it just became a fabric of the school. We did it starting the second year the school opened, and we've been doing it now almost 15 years. And that is, really just a huge event. It's obviously Friday Night Lights in Texas is a big deal.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're in Texas, man. That's a big deal. That's cool. I
Yeah.
love that, man. Great idea.
Mhm.
And the cotton, so the cool thing about cotton candy, like, dude, all the kids are dragging their parents, like holding their hands and like pulling them to your station. So while you're getting cotton candy out, you're engaging with the parents, right? So one of the things that we have fallen in love with is, the balloons that you blow up and have the rubber band that you can pop them back and forth.
Mhm.
Like every kid wants those. They want two of them actually. So now you end up at a fall festival or whatever a couple hours later with literally hundreds of them when everybody's walking around with your brand, like popping the balloons and stuff like that. So a lot of cool ways to leverage the school. We've done multiple transactions for the faculty and the administration of the school too. And something else I would tell you that, it's just a bigger commitment, but be generous, guys, like to your schools. When there's a need, meet it, like meet the need. Like if it's to fund something or whatever, I'm telling you, when that administration's on your side, it goes a long ways of all types of different ways, whether it's placement of where you get to stand at the fall festival or a teacher needs some help and you get the referral, or I mean, so many different things. I know we've benefited because we've been generous to the school. So,
Mm.
leverage your schools, leverage your community groups and all those things. Next door is another one. Let's see here. That was a question. New home builders, guys, raise your hand if you live in an area that's still building new construction around you. Nazar, Brandon, some of you guys might be more landlocked. So, guys, I think this is a huge opportunity to engage. And maybe this is where you strategically think about your farm. So, here's a big hack for everybody. If you get one takeaway, here's a shortcut to be effective in farming. First generation sellers. First generation sellers, meaning that it's a neighborhood that was new construction very recently, because we know that half of those people bought that home without a realtor. So go be the first one that's starting to inundate that neighborhood as the community mayor in their mailbox, on digital, all the things that we've been talking about, because half of them don't have an agent. They bought from the builder. And then second to that, if you can bolt onto the new home agents, like I adopted new home agents in the farm like they were my own clients. Like I'm doing coffee runs for them. I knew their drinks, I knew their names. I literally loved on these people like they were my clients because these buyers come in and have homes to sell too. So they would come in and I would be the agent that they would trust and say, hey, we have the agent that'll get this done for you. So you can buy this home with us that you want to buy. And I wouldn't get paid on the purchase, but I've had plenty of listings that I've been able to take because the new home agent referred me. Now, it doesn't have to be your farm, but I think it's even more effective when the new home agent's like, hey, I'm telling you, like Kristen is a rock star in this community. She does a lot of work here. Here's her number. You need to call her to sell your house. So, you can get into this one. So leverage those new home relationships. That's huge. Let's see, I got a whole list of stuff here. Grocery carts, we've done that. YouTube adds to the market. YouTube is funny. So we're getting ready to launch a big campaign literally this week on YouTube TV ads, a whole bunch of everything from display ads to interruption ads to bumper ads to skippable, non-skippable. We're doing all that stuff. We're launching here in the next couple of weeks with a commercial we just filmed, and I'll share that with you. But the funny thing with YouTube though is one of you guys talked about YouTube or the whole family sees it. So I was super famous with elementary school kids for a couple years in the farm. And it was funny. It was like if only the kids had the money to buy or sell a home or the decision-making power, because my kids thought I was so famous because all the kids watch YouTube, not the parents. So that's why I'm trying to get on YouTube TV, because I think more parents might actually see those ads. But yeah, YouTube's super effective, of course. Let's see here. Community events, we talked about that. Charity drive.
Can we talk a little bit more about the community events?
Yeah, go for it.
So I do the water bottles at the football games. Glenda Baker was my original inspiration. So all of the athletic games, my water bottles are there. At the high school graduation, I was just in Greece, in Athens, and I heard my name, Valerie Upham. And I was like, what? Anyway, she's like, it's the water bottle lady in Athens. But so that was fun. But so I donate the water bottles. I've donated a refrigerator for football so that and then I put my branding on it. And the school lets me put a banner right as everybody is leaving the school. There's only one exit, and it has the school thanking me. So it's not me advertising myself. It's the school thanking me. Of course, I created the banner, but with their permission. And then I do teacher pop buys. I did that all last year and the last 2 years. And then I started recently providing the coffee at the teacher meetings. And so I was able to go to the last 2 teacher meetings and then speak briefly. So my plan is to continue that and be present, because what I was told was that by me just dropping off pop buys, there was no connection of the teachers who didn't already know me. They were just getting these gifts with my name. So by me now attending the staff meetings, I'm creating that connection. So I realized what wasn't working. And then I'm trying to correct that. And I'm involved at the high school and the middle school. And then at the middle school for 8 years, I have sent out, I go to the actual award ceremony for all the kids who have a 3.5 and over, and all the kids who get straight A's, I give them a free movie event. I've been doing it, like I said, for years. And the parents are invited, the whole family of the immediate family. So there's usually 4 or 5 members from each family at this event. And it goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the way that you leverage the school, we can do just as well, like with partnering with the HOA for community events too. A lot of the same stuff. You can
Mhm.
love on the HOA staff, just like you love on the teachers. There's a lot of things to do, like for the events we've done a lot of the same stuff in the school too, Valerie, loving on the teachers and things like that. With the community, I skipped over that, but there's constantly like pumpkin patch events and Easter egg hunts and all that type of stuff. So, we're sponsoring the pizza, we're sponsoring the pumpkins, or we're sponsoring the photo booth, or those types of things. You usually get prominent placement, but you're also getting to engage. So that's the thing. If you're just sending postcards in the mail, but you're not present in the community,
Mhm.
it's probably going to fall on deaf ears and waste some money, but you got to be actively present as well.
Mhm.
If I were to
Um,
summarize all of this, I guess what I would say is it just goes back to the basic of there's 2 buckets of people in this world. There's people that know you and people that don't. And all we're doing as realtors is we're trying to get more people in that bucket that know us and ideally like us and trust us. And so how do we do that in the most effective way possible? Because there's a cajillion things we can do. And, just like you're saying, Valerie, I would die to go inside a room with a whole bunch of teachers and listen to their whining or whatever it is. Like that would be not what I would want to enjoy doing. And so figure out what you do enjoy doing, right? Because there's a whole bunch of different ways you can. It's about finding your tribe within that community and connecting with them at a deeper level. And by doing so, then that becomes your sphere that then can, because it might not be that the teacher or the coach or whomever is buying or selling, but they're like, oh, you got to talk to my buddy so-and-so because she's or he is the best. And so how do you do that in the most effective way possible? Again, I think it's all about what's your budget and how do you make the most of that budget? How do you get more people from that don't know me bucket to the know me bucket? And even though online and social media is a great way to be able to get people to kind of recognize you, it's more important to get belly to belly with them. And so how do you do those things that you can get face to face with somebody? Because for years we've been doing this thing called the picnic in the park that we do. We just recently did it. And for lots of years, I used to face paint. That's just what I did. And I would face paint people's faces and literally would take listings because they'd be like, oh, you painted my daughter's face.
Yeah.
It was something super simple, but it was all about just making that connection. Because we handed the bottles of water, we did this and did that, but it was more of like, did I reach down and acknowledge their kid? Right? Did I paint their face? Did I smile at them? You know, like, how do you make that connection with that human being? Because that, like, it stays with them, right? Because then when they see your mail in the mailbox, when they see your, you know, for sale sign here or whatever else, they're like, oh yeah, I know Valerie, I know Matt, I know Nazar, I know Craig, I know him because I've had the interaction with him.
But then my question is, when you do all of these events, one area that I'm ineffective is capturing their information. So Matt, you mentioned the contest, and that's how, you know, you get their contact information for the newsletter.
Yeah, we
But
do
when
giveaways. Yeah.
what other ways? So the giveaway is that, do you have any other ways besides the giveaway?
No, that's been the primary thing. That the other thing that
Okay.
well, this transitions to something else that we're doing to try and provide value, because I think it's all about value contribution. Like, we all know our industry, guys, is a race to the bottom right now. Like, if you don't recognize that, then your head's buried in the sand, right? So it's a race to the bottom. So you have two choices. You either join the race or you provide more value. Those are the only two options we have in our business. So we're just constantly trying to push the envelope to provide more value. One thing that we're doing now with the community is we are there's, if you guys heard of HomeBot, of course, right? So there's a new company that I'm really excited about. They just changed their name, but it's called Milestones. They rebranded something. I looked at investing in the company, but I was too late because they wanted a whole lot more money than I could give them now. But it's a really great idea. But here's the gist of it: is it's HomeBot, so you get your frequent home value mixed with Dropbox, not real Dropbox, but it's document storage. So it's all their transaction documents, all their maintenance documents, repair documents, all in one place, mixed with Angie's List. So it's got all the vendors that we uploaded, our vendors that we recommend, and we star like Google verified. We star Team Farnham verified vendors. So now these are the ones that are our partners. So like some of us are friends with Amy Stockberger, who's built out her vendor list where she actually, like, this is what you can leverage a platform for. So you could even potentially charge vendors to be on that list. And then it's also got home improvement recommendations, what it does for your home value. But we call it a home ownership hub. And like, for example, I'll share my screen real quick. And I'm almost done, guys, just to share a couple more points with you here. But like, this is the most recent mailer we just sent out. And we're starting to promote this. This is the first time we've really put the word out. But you notice up here, exclusive Inspirata offer. This is just for the community. What we're basically offering them, vehicles come with owner's manuals, homeowners need one too. And we're trying to give them this free access to a hub. But now every time they log in there, if we can get people to engage in here, we're providing a ton of value for them. But now it's our branding, of course, consistently. So we're trying to give free resources like that, Val, for people to zap and sign up for. So we're going to do that through more digital ads, consistent, postings. It's going to be on everything we do to try and get them to sign up for this free service. So, and it's kind of a land grab to try and get people to sign up, because anybody can do it. They don't have to be a past client of ours. Couple things just around third here and bring it home. I would just encourage you guys to know your stuff. Like, you got to be the neighborhood expert, know your stats. Like Tom Ferry says too, like, if the market went up 4.7%, it didn't go up 5%, it went up 4.7%. Like, know your numbers, know the inventory, know the product. If there's builder inventory in the area, like, know the incentives, know the lots, know everything about it. You have to know your stuff, because when you're with a client, it absolutely stands out. They know that I am more knowledgeable than the other agent they just interviewed. Like, it has to be evident when you're talking to them. Know the vendors in the neighborhood, like, get to know them. When you're name dropping vendors because you know the same pool guy that has installed their neighbors' pools, it just makes you feel hyper local and known. So you got to engage with that. Know the future expansion or development. Like, I used to go to the city planning meetings. I wanted to be the first one to know what was happening with the expansion in the surrounding areas, because it just made me the knowledge broker, made me the resource for all that stuff. One other hack I'll share with you too is, a lot of people, this is silly, but it's big for us. People have mixed opinions on putting a sold rider on your signs. If you're geographically farming, the sold rider is probably the best investment you can possibly make into that entire listing process. I've had situations where I've sold many, many homes where I've gone to a listing appointment. They're like, we walk the neighborhood every day, we're on our bikes, and it seems like you're the only one selling anything, because I have sold riders on all my signs. And I've had seasons where I've had 7 sold riders on a 2-street area at one time. Like, sometimes it's really overwhelming, and you can use that for videos and marketing. So spend the $15 and have your vendor go back out and put the sold writer on. It is well worth the money. And then let's see here. I think we've already gone 50 minutes here. So the last thing I was going to share, Nazar, is I was just going to show everybody, just kind of get your minds going of the commercial that we just filmed for the neighborhood that we're getting ready to launch out on YouTube and Meta and YouTube TV and everything. We're excited about it. We just got it back, but that's kind of how I'll wrap it up when we're done. But Nazar, you have anything to add or any questions or other ideas anybody really wants to share?
What I would add to what you're saying, Matt, and to answer your question, Valerie, acknowledge that, if you have a 5% turnover in your market, that 95% don't give a rat's butt about who sold what where, right? Like if you're not in the market to buy a car, you don't pay attention to any car that's on the street or any advertisement that has to do with cars. Same with homes. You might appreciate to know the value of your house, just like you check your stocks once in a while to see where they're at.
Mhm.
For the most part, that's like, you're like, it's like white noise. You kind of ignore it. So all this money and energy and all this time we put into like being like, hey, I'm here. This is Nazar. I'm the best agent in town. They're like, who cares? So when they finally like, hey, we're thinking about selling, then they ask questions like, well, who do we know? Right. And that's when that becomes relevant. And so, my perspective is, how do I have relevance in that 95%? If I can speak to the 95%, what can I tell them so that they would be top of mind, or I would be top of mind to them and that group? Because I think sometimes as agents, we're like so focused on, look what I sold. And they're like, I don't give a crap that you sold that.
Right.
But if I can show value to them, and I guess that's the golden question, is like, what is that value? And the answer is completely dependent upon who you're talking to, what the demographics are, what's important to them. And that's who you speak to, or that's what you speak to.
Yep, I agree. It's engaging, it's getting the vendors to them. It's getting them into the homeowner hub. It's being the one that gets them a magnet so they don't forget their bulk trash. It's just like all those little things where you're way more of just a neighbor to them than you are a realtor to them. But remember, guys, if they know what you do for a living and you're good at it, you don't have to tell them. They know. They just need to like you and trust you and think of you. That's it. Good. So Nazar, if we're good, I'll show this little humble brag on our team here and show this commercial to wrap it up, and then I can circle back and let you know how the results are once we launch it. But we're excited to get it into the marketplace. So
yeah, let's see it.
I'll share my screen and we're good to go.
Hello, I'm Matt from Team Farnham, proudly serving as the top real estate team in Inspirata for over a decade. Nobody knows these streets like we do, having facilitated 7 times more home sales than any other agent in the last 12 years. Let us show you what we love about this great community.
In Inspirata, you're not just buying a home, you're investing in a community. From sprawling parks to countless amenities, there's something here for everyone.
Summers here are a splash, thanks to our community pools and our active social scenes. Imagine your weekends filled with sun, swims, and smiles.
And the growth? It's phenomenal. We regularly help families right-size their home, selling their existing one, and guiding them through the new construction process.
Plus, with amenities like dog parks and endless walking trails, even your furry friends will love this place as much as you do. Come on, Bodie.
At Team Farnham, we are loving Las Vegas through real estate by achieving the best possible outcome for every client. Contact us today for the first-class experience you deserve.
Only missed opportunity is that you showed a pickleball court and you did not mention pickleball. So sad.
Bro, you know what's crazy? So they just brought pickleball to the neighborhood. Tim on our team has tried multiple times to go, and people are booking it out like hours in advance. There's only 4 courts. They're going through the city and saying they have reservations, but there's like no proof of this reservation. So it's like it's going to cause fist fights in the neighborhood, dude.
We have 32 courts in one location, just 32.
Wow.
Anyway, Matt, thank you so much for taking lead on discussing how we could be more effective farmers. When I think about farming, I think of planting seeds and watching it grow as you nurture it and and with time allow that to be able to flourish into something that is productive. And so I encourage every single one of you guys to take something that you've learned today. You don't have to apply every single aspect of it, but if you truly think about how you can make a difference, go into your community, be involved, be active, don't be a secret agent. And I promise you that if you do that with time, you'll see the fruits of your labor. So Matt, thank you so much. And everyone that participated, we will see you guys next week in our masterclass. Have a great day.